This is Hyrox World Championship weekend in Chicago. Athletes will be coming from all over the world to compete for the top spot in Hyrox. This weekend, I'm gonna be competing twice at Hyrox, which I've never done before. The challenge is gonna be competing solo on Friday, and then 48 hours later, getting my body ready to compete again on Sunday, doing doubles. The intensity is higher when you're doing doubles because you're running faster, you're doing the segments and the movements at a more aggressive clip. The challenge this weekend is gonna be around nutrition and recovery and making sure that my body and my mind are ready to compete twice in 48 hours. Chicago was 2 weeks after New York City. And in my mind, I felt like I didn't really change my training. Like I was kind of just tapering into Chicago. So overall, I felt ready. Like I felt healthy. I think that's the biggest thing with any competition. It's, are you gonna toe the line healthy? Because that's half the battle when you're doing a Hyrox or a marathon. It's like, if you can just show up healthy and then you could turn the gear of like, okay, I'm gonna like use the energy of the crowd, the adrenaline, and then the competitive nature of the race itself. Like, getting to the start line healthy is half the battle.
This is like when the nervous energy, it's like starting to settle in. All right, we're about 10 minutes out from our first competition of the weekend. I'm gonna be doing two competitions. Right now we're doing solo pro, 2:30 on Friday, and then Sunday at 2:30 we'll be doing doubles as well. So we competed 2 weeks ago in New York. My legs now feel pretty fresh. Like honestly, after New York, I was kind of like my legs were kind of like torched, but I don't know. Now it's like we're at a state where it's like I can kind of rest, and then now just honestly push. Like I haven't really changed much of my fitness. I've been honestly just kind of tapering. So today we're gonna full send. We qualified in New York, so we got really fortunate. And now, I mean, the goal is always sub 60, but we're gonna see what we can do.
After the opening run, I hit the skier and my pace felt under control. Not too aggressive, just steady. Again, the goal was preservation. I wanted to keep moving without blowing up. Then came the real test, the sled push and sled pull. Now there's a lot of talk about the new turf that Hyrox added for World Championship weekend, which will be the new turf moving forward. And basically how it added more friction and some of the sleds weren't able to move well. But honestly, for me, the sled push was strong. I didn't really notice any major extra resistance. It was moving really well. And that gave me confidence that the sled pull will hopefully be the same thing. But honestly, the pull was a different story. This has always been one of my weaker movements. And compared to my time in New York 2 weeks prior, I was 90 seconds slower at World Championship weekend. It felt more challenging, and walking away from it, it made me want to continue to develop and practice that skill because that's probably where I lost the most time. And that segment drained me, mentally more than physically. It was hard not to get discouraged, but I kept telling myself, just reset, breathe, and stay in it. The good thing after the sled pull was I had a very strong run split even after having a very poor pull. And then I'm going into the burpee broad jumps, which is brutal as always. And I wouldn't say that it was a standout performance, but I held my own. And at this point, it's about survival. You just gotta keep the engine alive, and you just have to stay focused on what's ahead because now you're at the halfway point. From there, we got into another run segment, and throughout this entire race, I felt like my running was really strong. I was able to average a 3:50 kilometer pace for all my 1Ks. And now after finishing burpee broad jumps, we're going into the 1,000-meter row, right? And then after that is the farmer's carry, which for me, both of them felt really smooth. I felt strong at the row. I went unbroken on the farmer carry, which for me has always been a consistent win. I've always been able to go unbroken on the carries, which builds some momentum before you go into the two final stages. Now as we enter the strength segment of the race, which is the walking lunges and then the wall balls, this is where I struggled in New York City. But I felt much better going into the lunges in World Championships than I did in New York. The good thing is I wasn't dealing with any cramping, so I was able to execute the lunges at a faster clip in addition to feeling strong in the run after. After the lunges are done, I go into my final run, and all I'm telling myself is run as fast as you can, and then finish strong going into the wall balls. Obviously, we have 100 wall balls to finish the race, and you're entering into the dome where the finish line is, so you can feel like the lights at the end of the tunnel. And my goal going into it was completing 4 rounds of 25, and I was able to do 3 rounds of 25, but I had to break up 1 set just because I was really fatigued. And it's one of those things where you can just taste the finish line, and then once you hit 100, there's no better feeling than running across that finish line at Hyrox.
I'm not mad at it. I think I raced a little smarter, but I mean, 2 weeks ago we ran in New York, 105, a little minute slower, but it's a good effort. The energy in Worlds is different. It's also nice because there's not as many people running, but it was dope, man. I'm not mad at it. The effort was good, and I think every time if you judge the effort, not necessarily the result, the time, I think it's a good way to like keep moving the ball forward. But the road to sub 60, still in the works. 65, I think like 50 was like the final time. So 105, 50, a minute slower than I was in New York. But overall, it was a good effort. I feel like I raced smarter, even though my time was not like showing of that. But now I need to recover. In about 48 hours, I'll be competing on Sunday, doubles, which will not be as aggressive, but still like requiring some energy, obviously. So now I'm like in the mix of, I need to get fuel in, a lot of carbs, and I might try to find somewhere to do some contrast therapy. I mean, obviously sleep is a massive piece of this, but when you're competing like this in the same weekend, I mean, just honestly from my head last 2 weeks ago, like New York, I was kind of like not broken, but I was really sore. Like I was sore for like 3 days after competing in New York. So hopefully my legs feel decent tomorrow, so that I can kind of get some food in me and then spectate a lot throughout the next 24 hours and then compete on Sunday. So I think overall, I'm good, I'm happy. Now I'm gonna get some pizza or something, but we're gonna rest up and then we'll come back in 2 days and then we'll compete on Sunday. I mean, to be honest, I felt like I put most of my energy out for Friday. Like, I think when you do any kind of race or solo competition, if you're really gunning for a PB or you're really trying to push yourself, like while I was competing on solo, I didn't have a thought like, oh, like I need to conserve myself for Sunday. It was in that moment just being present of like, I'm just gonna give out my best effort right now. And however I feel at the end of this race and then going into Saturday so I can rest one day and then obviously competing with Mason on Sunday, like it wasn't really something I was thinking about during the solo competition on Friday.
Biggest dick motherfucker I know.
Fucking Mason.
Where'd I look? Okay.
Yo, my name is Mason Stevens. I got into the sport of Hyrox back in 2023. Found out about it at the Go Rut Games. There was an activation going on. Did the workout, and then I signed up for the Dallas 2023 race. And ever since then, I've been hooked. For lunges, how do you like to transition to that?
I've gone where you turn, but I don't know if that's the best use of.
What I feel is the most efficient, but we made it sound a little hard because you're taller, is you'll come up right behind me, you put your head into my back, and then slide down. So like, I'll be right here, you put your head into my back,
I see,
slide down.
yeah.
And then it'll be easy for you.
Just drop it.
I was excited. Matt first, you texted me about it, and then we talked about it at Yellow Jacket Track that Tuesday. And I was like, if you need a partner, 100% I'm in. Then there was a little just delay on like the actual commitment of needing me until the Saturday before the race. But I was mentally prepared the whole time that the opportunity was still going to be there. And I mean, I train Hyrox I train Hyrox pretty seriously. So I knew that I would be ready if I got the call. So I was just kind of waiting to see. And then when I got the text Saturday morning, I immediately just responded. I was like, do you need me? And the yes is all I needed. And I was immediately ready. Even after competing Friday in solos, I was just more ecstatic that I got to race and I was ready to rip. So knowing that like we'd be able to share the load, I text Matt with a game plan the day before the race. I've ran a 53-40 with a buddy before. I've done open duos with my buddy Jeremy in Switzerland. So I had a couple duos under my belt, and I just like really study the sport because I truly want to be one of the best. So I said him how we should split up the ski erg, how we split up the sled push, the pull, who's going to be a little bit stronger at which station.
I've gotten to learn more about Mason through physical competition and through camaraderie around an interest. And I first had met Mason just throughout the year of like living in Austin, just like very like sparingly. The time that I've spent the most time with him was probably running from LA to Las Vegas, where we did the speed project where you're just like, you're with someone, you're with the team for a lot of hours and you get to learn about people and you get to see people's like, you know, grit level, and you get to see people where they come from and how they respond to adversity.
Then we go into 4, which is the burpee broad jumps. We kind of like had it tell. I was like, okay, like maybe you do 5, I'll do 7, because I think I had like a little bit more of aerobic base, and burpee broad jumps is really good for me.
Competing in Hyrox Pro doubles is a different beast. Obviously, there's an aspect of teamwork and communication, and also a form of recovery, because there's certain moments throughout each of the movements where you get some form of rest. But equally in doubles, the intensity is higher from how much faster you're running and how much faster you're going through each of the movements. So although you have 2 people completing the work, you still are operating at a higher intensity, which makes it challenging in its own way. And the fact that both me and Mason competed solo 2 days prior, I think made it even a little bit harder for us because we were operating on a little bit of fatigue. And I think in that, we were still able to compete at a high level. We kind of just figured it out as we went. But because of our experience of doing Hyrox in the past and doing solo and doing doubles, I think that both of us understood what is going to be required to execute a good race.
I have a really good lunge just style. I also like a technique of like how to give the bag to your partner without having to like truly lift it up or like do any cleans like that. So we went over something like that. And then the very end was just whoever had anything was going to pick up the wall ball first and just rip as many as they could.
The feeling of like gratitude and the reward obviously of crossing any finish line, like at that point I think we were in maybe 2nd or 3rd in our heat. So like we had some guys that we were able to like chase and like also compete with, while also just like giving out our best effort. And I think in any of these races, man, like obviously it's nice to win, it's nice to put up a personal best time, but obviously there's also just something to appreciate the effort that you put in. And for us never really racing together in this context, it was cool for us to like, the chemistry was really on point. Like I don't think there was a lot of words spoken during the 54 minutes that we were competing. I think we both understood as athletes how to support each other, and a lot of that is just through the work. It was super cool to cross the finish line with Mason, and like obviously, you know, really beyond satisfied with the effort.